cash flow positive at all costs. And that is so important when it comes down to scaling. Because I want to have, actually, let me share a story of one of my most successful students coming from Scalers method. He started spending 5K a day, then 10K a day. And the problem he had that at some days, he had to completely pause the traffic. And why is that? Not because of bad performance, because he was making 20 to 30% ROI. The problem was that he didn't have money in his account to pay for traffic. And that's the worst problem that you can have, because you're fucking crushing it, but you can't spend that money because it didn't hit your account first. And that sucks. Like, you want to be scaling and I want you to have the same problem, but at the same time, I want you to perhaps solve it beforehand. So actually, I don't want you to have the same problem. And the idea is that you need to be cash flow positive all the time. And what does it mean? That means that your income has to come in before your expenses. And how do you do that? Actually, there are two scenarios. One scenario is that you're going to scale so hard that you don't have enough money to sustain the growth, which is also a great problem to have, as I said. The other scenario is that you're so good at managing the expenses that that's never going to be a problem, or at least the cap is so high that I wish you to experience that issue, but it's postponed in the future for quite a bit. So the idea is that, since we're dealing with marketing in this case, that you pay the traffic as far as possible in the future and that you get paid as soon as possible. And in that way, you're gonna be cash flow positive, because before paying the expenses, before paying for traffic, you're gonna get paid by the affiliate network, by the brand, or you just generate the money yourself with your own product. And that's something that you need to consider when scaling up, because again, it is a problem to be negative in cash flow. So for example, there are a few different ways, and we're gonna cover that in more depth later on. But you can be working with agencies. You can get a credit line, and there are ways to do that. So a credit line allows you to spend the money and pay net 30. So at the end of the month, they're gonna issue an invoice and you have other 30 days to pay that invoice. So for example, on Google alone, we have a credit line of $5 million. That means that I have a threshold of $5 million. That means that if I hit $5 million in ad spend before the end of the month, only then I have to pay. Otherwise, I have other 30 days after the end of the month to pay those $5 million. That means that I can spend quite a bit of money before I even have to, worry about cash flow. And that's a very good place to be. I had to work my way up. I'm gonna cover that in another lesson, but this is a good place to be because we had similar issues. So a way to avoid that is to really negotiate with who you're dealing with as an affiliate, whether it's your network or your brand, if you're going direct, because that's gonna save your ass, and actually it's gonna save their asses too, because no brand likes spikes in performance up and down, especially if it's for a cash flow reason. So also what I teach in Scalers Method, my beginner course, is to deal with the affiliate networks. So explain them the situation, be very upfront about it, and be like, listen, I'm spending $10,000 a day. I ran out of cash in 3 days from now. So can you please pay me more frequently? And you decide the frequently depending on your situation, so that they know that you're gonna keep delivering, because performances are relatively predictable, especially within a week. So you can tell them like, listen, I can promise you I'm gonna make this much revenue if you can get me paid on time. Otherwise, I will have to whether lower the ad spend or stop completely. One of the two. And they don't like that scenario either. If you can justify the reason why you should get paid earlier and pitch them the idea that they're gonna make more money that way with you, they're gonna be more keen in paying you even every single day if that's needed. That's not something you should be doing because it's stressful to deal with payments. We don't like that. But at least like twice a week, once a week, whatever it is. And you can also tell them over time, that's gonna lower. We will not need that because you're gonna build enough cash to reinvest in your business, and you're not gonna need perhaps the weekly payment, bi-weekly payment all the time. At the same time, that allows you time to actually invest in a relationship with Google or Facebook, to actually have a credit line directly with them, or find an agency or someone else that has a credit line and you can feed off that. Usually that comes at a cost because no one is gonna give you a credit line without taking some small percentage. But regardless, If you're cash flow positive, that's a headache less for you and something less to worry about. So focus on that when it comes down to scaling. See you in the next lesson. Peace.